Today, we're reacting to content about bad bosses. Let's get right into it.
A good manager makes himself irrelevant as rapidly as possible. And then he's free to go do something else. That's the payoff. Why would I give up that control? It's like, you want control? Really? How about distributed competence as an alternative to control? That's a good deal. And it also means you have to be very selective in your choice of employees and partners and in the manner in which you structure your deals. And you don't want to get one up on one of your partners. That's a very foolish attitude because, well, they won't partner with you again. And they're certainly not going to give their best once they figured out that they've been had.
So yeah, I definitely understand the sentiment here. A good manager makes themselves irrelevant as quickly as possible. I think the only caveat I would maybe add here is that I would say a good business owner makes himself irrelevant as quickly as possible. A manager, generally, you have in place for a very good reason. You don't want to necessarily just offload all your work onto everybody else because there's two sides of that coin. There's the side of, oh, I trust people and we're delivering results. But then there's also the side of, hey, you're just going to do all my stuff. And then people say, well, why don't I just become the manager? So I do think there's a balance here. I do completely agree. If you are scaling in a business, as management, you want to build systems that replace you. So I completely agree. Good managers should slowly make themselves irrelevant. It doesn't necessarily mean offloading tasks. It means hiring competently, exactly what he said, and empowering people to do the jobs that you hired them for instead of micromanaging. Completely agree. Love it, Jordan. All right, we got a Reddit thread here. Is it common to have a boss that makes you worse at your job? I've been in marketing for about 6 years now. I joined this job for the perks of getting a nearly free MBA. That's awesome. And I plan on leaving once I get it. This is my first strictly digital marketing job, but I have experience at my last employer, which I stayed at for about 4 years. However, that job was mostly content and product marketing. My boss is mid-50s and has been in digital marketing, quote unquote, for 10-ish years and has been in their current role for around 5 years. So I assumed that taking on this job that I'd be able to learn a lot from them. But the longer I've been here, the more I think that my boss is actively making me worse in the field and I'm falling behind. It's very common for them to mention that the metrics don't matter and that won't impact our marketing strategy or decisions. New strategies are written off or added because of her preconceived beliefs, and any data that goes against what she thinks is disregarded. And when somebody points out that our work isn't measurably impactful, they respond with, I know in my heart that what we're doing matters. I know I'm ranting, but I still feel like I have a lot to learn in the field and corporate life in general. So is this kind of incompetence common in upper management? First, yeah, that kind of incompetence can be common. However, it is not common to have a boss that makes you worse at your job. Here's the thing. I have coached lots of marketing directors in businesses. I have coached a lot of general managers within businesses on how to excel in their job. And when you are faced with poor leadership, the thing that you have to do is you have to stick to your own good fundamentals of what you know is right. What it sounds like is you have a boss in marketing who is a creative, not a marketer. Being a creative and being a marketer is dramatically different. Being a creative means you want to express, you want to show the world what's going on under the sun. You want to give a message to the people. Being in marketing means that you deliver a message that moves them in a way that delivers a result. You're trying to get people to take action from the thing that you are doing. It's the difference between Banksy and Gary Vee. Banksy is just trying to make you feel something and trying to make you think. Gary Vee is trying to get you to take action on something. So I would say stick to your own fundamentals and what you know works while you're at this position, and when eventually this person crashes, you'll win. Here's the only other side that I will take here is sometimes people have these Reddit threads or they'll post rants, and sometimes it can be rooted in personal ignorance. Like maybe you're bringing data points to this individual and they're saying that data point doesn't matter. So there could be a world where that's happening. And I don't want to discount that because I have been the boss in that position where people have said, well, I just think this. And I say, I'm sorry, I know that you think that. Here's why I believe what I believe and why we need to do this moving forward. It doesn't sound quite like that's happening, but it's always healthy to take a quick introspection. What am I doing wrong in this situation? Get your MBA and get out of there. All right, we've got Simon Sinek. Let's go.
Nobody ever looks at the leadership and saying, maybe it's them. I stayed at the Four Seasons, and one afternoon I went and bought a cup of coffee, and the kid working that day, the barista working that day, is a kid named Noah. I asked Noah, do you like your job? And without skipping a beat, Noah says, I love my job. Now, in my line of work, that's significant. So I said to Noah, can you tell me specifically what the Four Seasons is doing that you would say to me that you love your job? And again, then, without skipping a beat, Noah said, "Oh, throughout the day, managers will walk past me and check in on me, see how I'm doing, see if there's anything that they can do to help me." And then he said, "I also work at another hotel, and there the managers walk past us and catch us when we're doing things wrong." He says, "There, I just keep my head down, get my job done, get through the end of the day, collect my paycheck, and go home." This is the exact same human being, and our interaction with him will be profoundly different because of the leadership environment in which he's working.
That's huge. So I was going to say Dr. Sinek. I'm sure he'll get a PhD at some point. What Simon Sinek is saying here effectively is that the employee that you have will be a dramatically different person based on how you lead them and how you make them feel. When you are a boss who is constantly trying to find the wrong things, trying to find the ways that somebody's messing up and correct it, it can come from a real space. It can come from a place of, well, I just don't want things to go wrong. If you change your paradigm and you start focusing on making things go right rather than preventing things from going wrong, your employees are going to start loving their work. They're going to start loving being in your place of business, because you can do a million wrong things. You can do a million wrong things and it never quite gets you the result you want. But if they focus on the right thing, oh my gosh, all of a sudden they can start winning. So I completely agree here with Simon Sinek in that you need to pivot the way that you think. Stop trying to prevent things from going wrong and start trying to make things go right. Next. All right, back to back, Simon Sinek. Let's see.
The real job of a leader is not about being in charge. It's about taking care of those in our charge. When we're junior, our only responsibility is to be good at our jobs. That's all we really have to do. And if you're good at your job, they'll promote you. And at some point, you'll get promoted to a position where we're now responsible for the people who do the job we used to do, but nobody shows us how to do that. We have to go through this transition of being responsible for the job and then turning into somebody who's now responsible for the people who are responsible for the job. We all have the capacity to be a leader. Doesn't mean everybody should be a leader, and it doesn't mean everybody wants to be a leader. And the reason is because it comes at great personal sacrifice. Remember, you're not in charge, you're responsible for those in your charge.
Yeah, I think that's an amazing point. I've got plenty of these at my company of people that are just so talented, whether it's a dev or it's a designer or it's a copywriter. They're just so talented at the thing that they do that even me as the owner, I'm like, I don't necessarily want them to worry about management. I want them to keep doing this incredible work. Sometimes they agree. Sometimes they say, no, I do want to rise to management. I say, wonderful. No problem. You need to be able to coach people on how to do it this well, because this is dynamite. But at some point you become a coach and it stops being about how well you do it. And obviously you should still be able to do it well, but it'll be about how well you can coach people to do it right and how well you can identify the gap between what's going correct and what's going wrong and how to guide people back towards doing it correctly. And I have found if you were really good at a job and then it turned into a business, this will be the thing that scales you. The moment I started hiring talent that was better than me and I started screwing things up when I would get in there, our business took off like a rocket. If you are a talent that has turned into a business owner, you have to learn how to hire people who are better than you and stop living on the high of you're so good at the thing. So I love that. Next, back to Reddit. Am I being too sensitive? Can someone please tell me if I'm being too sensitive and how to handle this situation? I'm a digital marketing specialist. Me too. At a small company that sells everything through e-commerce platforms such as Amazon, eBay, etc. I noticed our inventory is consistently running out on Amazon, so I brought this concern to the manager and the guy who does inventory. She seemed open to new ideas as she wants to improve that as well. So after talking to the inventory guy and learning how the current process works, I determined a par level to have on hand to prevent this from happening. Upon hearing my suggestion, my manager doesn't even entertain my idea, nor does she give me any valid reason to reject my idea, and basically says, we will not change it. I understand it's her company and she can do what she wants. However, I feel like my concerns were dismissed without even a discussion of some sort or a collaboration as to how we can improve the situation. I handle the Amazon channel. They always want to improve the sales, but that's hard for me to do if stock keeps running out. But I feel like this is one of many examples where she just shuts down my idea all the time without any valid reason. She always does this and it's very frustrating. I want to tell her that I'm not done with this discussion until we find a solution that addresses both of our concerns. But at the same time, it's not like she pays me good enough to care about my job. So I don't know what to do. Leave it or push it through. First of all, whatever_never. This is a perfectly valid concern. And I love that you are taking concern of the whole business. You're the ideal employee. You're the person who takes ownership of, are we growing and does my work matter? Does my work matter? Because in your case, you're marketing. Your job is to get attention to the business. Your job is not sales. If they say your job is sales, they have a problem. Your job is getting attention to those Amazon pages. So here's what I would do if I was in your shoes. Just focus on the marketing metrics. Say, I drove this many people to see the page and they keep running into no stock. They can't purchase. So focus on all of your marketing metrics, which is how many eyeballs actually hit your Amazon sales pages. How many clicks did you get there? How well did the social media campaigns or the ad campaigns do that you ran? Focus completely on the marketing metrics. That way you can take that and whenever you go to your next job, you can say, this is what I did, because that your job is that. Now, on the flip side, you're bringing it to your boss and you're saying, we have to have more inventory. We keep running out. We have to have more inventory. We have to have more inventory. Well, the business owner, if they're smaller, they have a lot of other expenses, and inventory is something that they're probably stressed about. So just know that if somebody gets real cagey like that, it's probably because of either poor money management, like they might not be charging enough for these items. So the idea of paying an extra 50 grand for a bunch more units is like, I can't do that. And I don't think they want to tell you that is likely what's happening. If it's the business owner, it's a financial concern. They can't afford bringing on more. There's a quote from the founder with, gosh, I'm blanking on Michael Keaton, the founder with Michael Keaton. And he says, if you increase the supply, the demand will follow. I agree with that. And I think your boss should learn that. However, your boss dismissing you is likely just them being afraid. So if you have a boss like that that's dismissing you, it's because they feel threatened by you bringing that up. Bring your skills to the next job. Next, the Reddit thread. Is it unreasonable to ask my boss to send my weekly earnings a day after I'm supposed to receive them? Oh boy. He hired me on as a 1099 so I can get paid weekly. This was before I knew what that truly meant in terms of taxes, and I regret agreeing to this payment setup so much. The agreement is every Friday before I leave, he writes a physical check from his business account for my hours that week. Well, he isn't always in office on Fridays, and every single time that he isn't, I don't get paid on Fridays. The last time this happened, I was texted him by 3 p.m. on Saturday because my lack of pay was legitimately cutting into my weekend errands, and all of my auto pay made my bank account go negative. Long story short, before he left to Hawaii last Thursday, he asked how I wanted to get paid for that week and asked if he could add last Friday to this Friday's check, citing the last time I was blowing him up saying, hurry up and pay me. I have plans. Pay me now. And he doesn't want it to be like that again. Oh my gosh. He said this in front of my subordinate in a pretty mocking tone. It legitimately made it difficult to work for the rest of the day due to the embarrassment. Yeah. Well, it's 10:20 a.m. on Saturday. He's still in Hawaii. My bank account is dry and I have more auto pay coming out whenever the bank decides to pull it. EFT can be slow. I seriously need advice. He pays the only other person that works in the office the same way, and she was totally quiet when he mocked me about it last time I got paid late. After he left the building, I tried to talk to her about it to assure her that I would never talk to my superior that way and try to get her opinion. She was just still shut down and had nothing to say. So now I feel like I'm crazy for thinking that it isn't okay the way that he spoke to me, or the act of neglecting to pay us on time to begin with is unacceptable. I know that sentence doesn't make sense, but my dog is whining in my ear for food, so I'm wrapping this up right now without proofreading. Any questions for context, and I'll give it in the comments. Oh my gosh, so sorry. First of all, if anybody tries to hire you as 1099 for a full-time job, that is illegal. 1099 means that you are a contractor and that you essentially work for yourself and that you are contracting a service rendered. And you can't have a full-time employee that has expected hours and expected regular deliverables to be on 1099. So if anybody offers you that, they are trying to push the tax burden onto you. So likely this person is trying to avoid paying employee taxes, which as a business owner with 28 full-timers, the amount of employee tax that I pay is bonkers. So I understand why they would want to offload that, but this is not the way to do it. In the very beginning of our business, the very first year of our business, we were going backwards and we had a lot of wonderful opportunities happen after that. We didn't have to shut down. But one thing that our employees said is they were like, we may not know how the business is run, but our checks come through every single time. Because that was something for me where I was like, we are not going to be a day behind on payments. I don't care if we have to foreclose on our house. If I told somebody I would pay them to get a job done, I am giving them that cash. So no, this is not unreasonable. I would quit that job. You do not need this noise, and it's illegal. And you're going to be paying a rip ton in taxes on that 1099. So get out of there. This is not worth it. I don't even have advice here. All right, another Reddit. Small family-owned businesses suck. Fair. I quit my upper management job to pursue better work-life balance. I started working for a local small business that was growing and fit into my expertise of ops management. Cool. Score, I thought. A Monday through Friday job with only $25,000. Jesus. Less pay per year. Worth it at the time. Yeah, I guess. I had no experience working for a family-owned business and probably will never do this again, to be honest. Red flag number one, they offered me a full asking wage but wanted to split split up 10,000 of it so no one knows how much you really get paid. My hiring letter broke it up as a salary line item with no description. I thought, no big deal. Okay, pause. Anytime a business owner tries to just wiggle something around financially with you, stop and walk away. Whatever they are trying to convince you of, it's better for them, okay? Anytime that happens, you sniff that, run away, run away. 6 months go by of being thrown to the wolves, and I'm in a meeting with the ops team, accounting, owners, and others. This meeting lasted 8 hours long per day and was 2 days long. Oh my goodness. What the F am I doing? Thoughts creep into my head as I zone out as the arguing married owners yell at each other. Yeah, another red flag. Go, leave. You're better than this. You could get a job. Time goes on and I'm belittled in front of multiple teams, thrown into drama, and then it happens and I'm told 10,000 is being taken away. I thought that was the signing bonus. That was the sign-on bonus and then changed to a spiff, then told it was a performance-based wage and would be taken away after 1 year if metrics weren't met. Guess when I was told this? 14 months after my start date. How does something that was supposed to only last 1 year, according to an employer, get brought up after a benchmark and still getting the pay? Well, after mentioning this, I was told it would last until after I had gotten through their busy season, and then we would reconvene and review my performance to see if I deserve the pay that I was promised via email, text, and an offer letter. That was my base salary. The busy season came and went. I was fired, then I was paid my bonus, so it clearly wasn't my performance-based. I started a new job right away. Nice. It is in a similar field, a small business that's family owned. Okay. I effing hate my life, and the current main owner is okay. Self-centered and unorganized, but okay. But holy effing cow, his mother is a complete racist bipolar. I can't do anything right by her, and her son is too afraid of losing mommy to stand up for his people. This is insane here. Family businesses are so much drama. Yeah, I think a lot of family businesses are super dramatic. People will go into business with their family just because they're like, oh yeah, we'll keep it in the family. We'll keep the money together. And then all of a sudden you're treating your mom or you're treating your sister or brother like an employee, and you are financially tied to each other. It gets messy if you're not mature. And in this case, it does not sound like any of these people are mature. Run. If somebody starts doing fancy moves financially to be like, oh, this is better for you, trust me, it's better for them. Okay, that's lesson number 1. Lesson number 2, you ever see anybody yell at anybody in a workplace? Ever. If they ever yell once, find a new job. There is nothing at all in any business on planet Earth that justifies yelling at another individual. There is nothing. Last one. Worst boss of all time. I need you to get better, quote unquote. You're scaring me by not knowing that, quote unquote. I need you to be more ZYZ, XYZ, quote unquote. All things I heard from the worst boss in history. Worked my hardest at this job, did a good job, tried to learn everything. Should not knowing where some items belong be the end of the world? Well, it was for this idiot. Let me rewind. I have this boss. They've been increasingly getting more hostile to me, a few other coworkers, and even customers lately. Everything I do is a problem in their eyes. It's like I do 19 things right and then 1 wrong. They'll remember that one thing and bring it up to me a million times and beat me over the head with it. Anyway, this boss sees the worst in their employees, constantly demanding more and more and more. This demon has no concept of life outside of this small job. I have very good self-awareness and am super hard on myself. So I know when I'm screwing up, and I am not on this job. I'm restocking, helping customers, cash register, garbage man, everything. Never once complained. But I don't know where everything is for the customers, and that's a problem. I tried to stand up for myself today because I didn't appreciate how the boss makes it seem as if I'm lazy, a lazy employee or screwing stuff up. So after one of their BS rants, I let him have it. And I explained how I have a lot of other things going on, and remembering where everything is in a place I work once a week is not my top priority right now. I'm there less than part-time, and there is no understanding of that. When I'm there, I give it my all. When I'm not, I forget about the damn place. Simple. I think it's funny how half a dozen people have left in the last year, and it's a small staff. The boss demon still doesn't change their ways of degrading and just being rude to everyone. This person is such a subhuman. They had a shouting match, again, red flag, shouting match at our oldest employee one day after I left in front of everyone. That turned into a complete verbal assault on the boss's part. Has anyone had a boss like this? It's such bizarre behavior from someone older than me, and I feel like I'm the adult in most convos with this ass. So there's a few things wrong here. Number 1, it seems like expectations are not set properly. Number 2, I have a light challenge for you, and this is just me outside looking in. It does seem like there is this expectation of you having a clear understanding of inventory that you don't know, and that the boss keeps asking you, about it and you keep getting irritated that they're asking you about it, I'm not excusing their behavior. There can be two wrongs here. I think the boss is wrong in how he's treating you. This is unacceptable and this should never ever happen and you should quit. However, the alternate can be true that you might have not been fully doing the job correctly. Okay. So I think there is a level of, you know what? Yeah, I wasn't fully doing the job correctly and I'm sorry. That's where the boss needs to just let you go and say, hey, like you're just not doing the job. So I would say in your case, let's get objective and let's retain our own peace and not externalize blame towards this boss. If you're screwing up at something, just own it. I didn't do this right, but I don't deserve to be yelled at. The biggest feedback I get at Aesthetic Conversion, our agency, is I'm working hard, but I'm not stressed. And I think a lot of that has to do with the leadership that we have built within our company and the culture that we've built within our company is that nothing's an emergency. It's okay. If something gets messed up, let's fix it. We're not blaming an individual and saying, you're a bad person. We're saying, okay, great. This thing is wrong. How do we fix it? So a lot of our employees are very, very happy and non-stressed because we're not tying their self-worth to whether or not the job goes right. And I would say that also applies to this individual here, to a handful of the other individuals in this video. If I can encourage anybody here, how you are treated at work does not have to dictate how you feel. I know that's a tough pill to swallow because you might be being abused, and I am not naive to that. I have been in extremely abusive work environments in the past, and I get it. But the moment that I could separate what was happening to me to how I was going to be and respond, holy smokes, I felt so much better. And when I realized that what happens to me does not have to dictate how I feel, it was this like relief, this pressure relief immediately where I could just turn it off. So these bosses are not your parents. They are not the ones who assign your self-worth. You are. So if you guys like this, I'd love to do more of these. If you have suggestions, whether it's bad bosses, whether it's marketing practices, business practices, whatever, I'd love to give any insight that I can. So leave a comment down below if you got anything out of this, or maybe you're one of the stories that we just covered. I'd love to hear your thoughts, especially if it was one of the ones that I just challenged too. I would love to hear your thoughts on the situation. Anyway, hit subscribe, like this video, share it with somebody that has a bad boss, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.